Welcome back to Flint Creek Transport. My name is Justin. Today I'm at Canopy Coffee Roasters. You can see the sign behind me. We are going to go check out the coffee that gets roasted for Flint Creek Transport. So, as many of you guys know, I started a coffee company, and basically I have a guy that roasts for me. He does all the roasting, bags it, and then we get it shipped out. So the guy is here local to our area, and we're gonna go back around and check out his roaster, the whole 9 yards. As many of you guys know, I love coffee, and I love fresh coffee, good coffee, and I just thought, you know what, kind of tying all this together with coffee trucking and branding it and all that, just crazy ideas, right? So it's been fun and it's been challenging though. So I promised that I would show you guys the roaster and how I'm roasting. I have an order in. Actually been a lot of orders through. We've been pushing out quite a bit, but I just wanted to give you a little update, a little reminder what we're doing and how it all works, because it's a pretty cool process. So it's interesting. And I've seen a roaster work before, but I get to even maybe get behind the scenes even more and see how it all gets done. So give you guys a little more info on coffee and Hammer Down Coffee Company. All right, guys, here I am in Canopy Coffee Roasters. You can see this place isn't huge, but it can still crank out a lot of coffee. And there's lots of benefits to working with a small roaster. I'm here with Jared Wigden of Canopy Coffee Roasters, and he's the guy that does all the roasting and all the finishing and the bagging. So here's Jared.
Hey guys, how are you?
Let's check out this roaster. Maybe kind of, Jared, if you can kick us off here and tell us a little bit what you got for a roaster, how many pounds you do and stuff like that.
Yeah, so right here we have a Diedrich R12. You can't find them like this anymore. They were built to last, so this one has been pretty trusty for us. And the basic premise is that we get green beans in, and they go in through the hopper up here. And then inside this drum, you have a circulating drum that is spinning the beans, and a couple burners in there underneath that heat up the drum. And the whole roasting process is going on right now. The beans start green, then they turn yellow, and then they turn brown. And if you let them go long enough, they turn black. And so
these are the beans right in here.
Right in here, we've got some beans. They're in the brown phase right now. They're just starting to turn brown.
These are done?
And the ones rotating around here are done. They're cooling. And in just a moment, we'll empty that out, clear way for this next batch to come through. And it's a pretty cool event to let them fall out of the drum and into the cooling bin. So that's what we'll show you next. It takes a couple more minutes.
So you talked about a green bean. Can you show us the green bean, like let's say the full throttle blend?
Yeah, so full throttle is made up of 2 beans. We have 2 organic beans here, organically grown beans from Peru. And another bean that's organically grown from Costa Rica.
So the full throttle blend it's a blend of both of those.
Yep, so we'll put them together and we'll roast them. The full throttle blend is a light roast, and so those will come out with all the caffeine that you can want. So I'm going to clear the way here for our next batch to come out.
All right, guys, I'm just going to interrupt this video real quick. I got a promotion to offer you on coffee. If you set up a subscription or if you want to buy a couple bags, use the code Flint Creek, and that will save you 10%. So use the code Flint Creek, and that will save you 10% on an order. Thank you, guys.
We can do about 30-pound batches at a time, up to 30 pounds. That's what I have in there right now.
30 pounds?
30 pounds. Goes in 30 pounds green, will come out about 20% lighter.
Okay.
But about 20% more volume. So it'll swell in size, but it'll get lighter. So you get about, 26 pounds or so roasted from a 30-pound batch.
So how much time do you have left yet on the ones inside?
So this will take about 3 or 4 minutes.
Yep.
Right now it's just starting to hit what's called first crack. This is actually one of our breakfast blends right now. And so it's a medium roast. So kind of like popcorn pops, coffee will crack. And so you may hear that in just a moment here, where
I heard a little bit.
you can hear the first crack. So if I were to dump it right now or in the next 30 to 45 seconds, you'd get a light roasted bean. First crack's the sign of light roast. And then there's a development phase where you can go from light to dark, and it will actually crack a second time when you get to dark roast. So when you're first starting out, if you're paying attention, you get first crack is light roast, second crack is dark roast, and then in between those two, you get a lot of flexibility. The longer you develop it, the more the flavors change. Coffee's actually, it comes from a coffee fruit. So you start out on the light roast end with like fruity, floral notes, and then you're basically gonna burn those longer the more you develop it. That's where you start to get like chocolatey and sugary and caramel notes in your coffee. And then the darker you go, that's when you start getting that like toffee or dark chocolate or like Heath flavor, where it's kind of like roasty toasty, but still delicious. That's my warning. If I ever get distracted, it lets me know that this batch is about done.
So the finishing touches, you're just kind of looking at it, watching it.
Yeah, listening to, keeping track of timing in my head. So a lot of the new roasters would have a machine to do this, but I have done it so many times, I get a feel for how long it needs to spend in development phase. So like right now, it's just entering that perfect medium roast. So we got about another 30 to 45 seconds before we'll dump this. It'll come out hot. We're gonna dump it at about 434 degrees.
Oh, wow.
And you'll hear some of the beans starting to do that second crack. And so this is just at the end of medium, perfect medium to almost medium dark. You ready?
Ready.
Here we go. All right, it's important to cool the beans as much as possible, as quickly as possible, so that they stop the roasting process.
Yeah.
If you know anything about baking, you pull something out and leave it in the container. Sometimes it over bakes. Coffee can do the same thing.
So what do you do with one of the light colored ones?
Yeah, so right now they're about 430 degrees, so I'm gonna wait till they cool. Every once in a while, a green bean will get down in there. It happens because the dryer has like this little ledge. Sometimes they get stuck up in there, don't get fully roasted. So I will quality control those. Once they're cool, pull those out. You get too many of those in a batch and it can really change the flavor for you.
Right, and the green bean is super hard, right?
Yeah, it's like essentially a coffee fruit is similar to a cherry where there's a pit inside.
Yep.
And so a coffee bean is the pit of the coffee fruit.
Yep.
So you don't want to chew it. You don't want to cook it. Most of these burlap bags that you see will say for further processing only,
right.
And that's super important because they're.
I tried biting one of these. These little green beans are hard. You can't bite it with your teeth.
No.
But as soon as it gets roasted, if you ever chew on a coffee bean, you easily can. You get chocolate covered
Espresso beans,
right?
Yeah, for sure.
Hey, maybe that's our next thing. Full throttle, or the full throttle blend, chocolate covered beans.
I love it. Love it.
Full Throttle blend is my favorite blend. That's what I always get. So I like the light roast.
All right, so let's get making that. I'm gonna pull the green beans. We'll start with Costa Rica. Gonna need just over 13 pounds of each. So I'm gonna weigh this out. So there's your Costa Rica. And here we go with Peru. Perfect.
You do about a 25-pound, 26-pound batch.
Yes. All right, so they're gonna go up in. We got the roaster cooled down to the right temperature. So I'm gonna lift this lever, the beans are gonna pour in. I'm gonna start the flame inside. Charge temperature is super important. So throughout the roasting process, there's temperature, but there's also density that you have to pay attention to, and airflow. So inside that drum, what's happening now is the beans are gonna be super dense. That's why you can't bite into them. They're super dense, and so that density is gonna leave the bean and go into the roaster. And you can control that all kinds of different ways for different roasts, and it affects how the flavor comes out. So for the Full Throttle blend, we're gonna keep it a little dense. As with most light roasts, you'd find that they're more dense beans. You might not get as many beans in the bag for the weight that you have. They weigh a little bit more when they come out compared to a medium or dark roast. But the flavor is gonna be more intense, more true to that coffee fruit.
So
where it came from.
Let's say I wanted a cup of coffee from freshly roasted beans. Is that not a good thing?
No, so actually the roasting process doesn't end after the beans are cool. It takes about 24 to 48 hours. And what they do is they release methane. As they've expanded, they've created gas inside the bean. And if you were to take what I just roasted here and grind it and make a cup of coffee, those beans are gonna expand after you take your first sip. So it'll get down in your belly and those gases will release, and you'll feel bloated, you'll feel gassy.
Yeah.
So we let our beans rest for at least 24 hours. Best is 48. That way that gas doesn't release in your stomach.
Right.
It's pretty unpleasant.
And then it stays fresh for what, about a month and a half?
Yeah, so our coffee bags are designed so we bag it fresh, and once they're in the bag, that gas can release. It can get out of the bag, but air can't get in. And so you'll see a valve on your bags that allows that process for us to bag it as fresh as can be and for it to stay fresh. Yeah, a month is what we tell people, but you could honestly, if you're in dire straits, if you need coffee, you can pick something up that's been on the shelf for 3 to 6 months with this bag system that we have. I mean, as a coffee guy, I don't recommend waiting that long, but.
And one of the nice things is working with you is I've been able to order small quantities kind of as we need, so I can keep that 2 to 4 week window of bags on the shelf.
Yeah, for sure.
So I kind of order as we need.
Yep, whenever I get an order, it's usually bagged within 3 to 4 days of the order. with roasting, so you'll get it usually within a week to a week and a half from the day that it's roasted.
Right.
To the actual customer. So it's fresh as can be. That's one thing we pride ourselves on. All of our blends, all of our roasts.
And the green bean comes in these bags?
Yeah, so these are our bags. They're made overseas. It's a pretty reliable.
100 pounders?
130 usually,
Wow.
between 125 and 150.
And you know these are probably coming off some mountaintop, right? A high elevation?
For sure, high elevation. So we get our coffee from all over the world. So we have a little map here to remember where we get our beans from. You can see a little blue dot in all of the locations that we bring beans in from overseas.
Can you show us the difference between the medium roast and the light roast and dark roast, like color-wise?
Yeah, let's take a look. Right now we're getting the bags ready to fill. We'll be very organized here. We don't waste labels. We don't waste bags, so everything's counted out per order.
And my order here, I think, was what, 5 bags? 5 bags of each of a bunch of different ones.
Yes.
This is the full locker, 5 bags whole bean, 5 bags ground. So again, these orders usually have an order every week, and they're just whatever we need. So that way the coffee stays fresh. All right, I'll show you guys the beans here in a minute. Some of the different colors and roasts. But we got to first let this batch out. How many batches can you do an hour?
About 3.
3 batches an hour?
Yeah.
That's a lot of coffee.
Yeah, we can do 100 pounds an hour is about our max right now, which is really reasonable as far as growing production. We're on a weekly cycle with our roasting. And so right now, getting into the fall, it's pretty busy around here. And so we'll do between 700 and 1,000 pounds in a week pretty easily.
Wow.
So that's with the roast, that's with the time to set and the time to bag it. So right now the full throttle blend's getting ready to be done. It's a light roast, so right now we're here in the first crack. And what I'm gonna do is just kind of listen, slow things down here, and listen for that first crack to slow down, and I'll know it's ready to drop. A couple more degrees, just let it finish, and here we go. So there you go, that's a light roast right there. Ours is just a little bit past the lightest that you'd want to roast. That just gives it a nice smooth finish. You know, there's a lot of acidic coffees out there, especially when you get into the light roast range. But the way we roast ours, we kind of take that edge off of the acidic, so people can still enjoy it, even though it has those bright flavors. We're hanging right around my alarm time temperature, so it's gone off a couple times.
Yeah, I know the acidity is always a big thing too. I have guys that ask about that because they get heartburn and this and that. But
yeah, so there's a lot of bad coffees out there too. So you get into mass roasters, they don't have the flexibility with each roast that would allow them to control those things, and so you end up with either burnt coffee or really acidic coffee, or sometimes both, because they're trying to rush everything and speed it up. So what we have here are 3 different varieties that Hammer Down offers. All right, we've got our full locker, which is a medium roast. So I'm going to lay some beans out. You can check the color. All right, and then we also have our vintage blend here, which is a little bit of a medium dark roast. And the last one here is the deep reduction dark roast blend. So it might seem like a small thing, but you get into the different roasts, and that's where they get their names: the light roast, medium roast, dark roast.
Yep. And the dark roast got a little bit of a shine to it.
Yeah, so when you expose the dark roast to heat for a longer period of time, it'll actually draw out the oils that were in the fruit. And it's basically like a caramelization process that's going on there to bring out those oils. And it's a unique flavor. It creates a real smooth feel to the dark roast is like as smooth as you can get. And it has those nice burnt notes, toasty notes that everybody loves.
Even though the deep reduction is got a little more oil, the vintage blend, that one has got a lot more flavor. I feel it got a real kick.
Yeah. So it's a robust bean. Talking about like just the different areas that the beans are grown. This bean is Colombian, and the deep reduction is a Honduran. And so the deep reduction, you're going to get a lot smoother palate from a bean grown in Honduras compared to just the climate and the elevation at which the Colombian grows. It allows for that, that real dependable flavor.
Yeah.
Classic Colombian is what they say. So, and then the Ethiopian, any African beans you get into, they come, super fruity, super florally on the light range. And you can maintain some of that through the medium roast. It's a fun flavor that the Ethiopian full locker gives you.
Yep. And any of these beans, like you could roast them light, right?
Yeah, you can. So that's the thing that I do is I understand where the beans are grown and how they'll respond to the different roasting methods, and that's what we have done to curate what we offer at Canopy and what you have at Hammer Down.
That makes you the professional.
Yeah.
I
heard a story one time about a boat that the engine wouldn't run on the boat, and so they hired a guy to come in and check the engine, and all he did was tap on something with a hammer.
Yep.
And he sent the bill in the mail. It was like $20,000. And so the boat company complained. They said, "Why are you charging us $20,000? All you did was tap the thing with a hammer. Anybody could have done that." And so he looked at the bill. It was itemized, and it said, "Tapping the boat with a hammer, $1. Knowing where and how hard to tap it, $19,999.
Right.
So
very
that's
good,
that's why you work with professionals in any industry. That's why when you do something for a long time, you know what's going on. So
that's awesome. You get a feel for it. You get an ear.
Yes. Yeah. So a lot of people are running high-tech operations. When I started, I didn't have all the machines, and we still don't use them just because it's an art for us. Yeah. It's not necessarily a science.
It's just like making the art in the coffee.
Yep. Yeah, latte art. There you go.
Yeah, latte art. Cool. And all these beans, you can get the coffee in whole bean or ground. So you guys have a grinder that can grind it. Either way, you just select on the website which one you want. All right, Jared, one more thing. So let's talk a little bit about flavored coffee. And can you do that stuff here?
Yeah, we do that too. We sell a lot of flavored coffee. It's something that goes great with all the different kinds of creamers and additives and sweeteners and things like that. And so basically what happens is we add flavor to roasted beans. So what we do is we have a generic bean that we use for all the flavors, something middle of the road that it accepts the flavor nicely. And so then we'll add different flavorings. Those are synthetic products. They're made up of basically different acids and bases. So when you bite into a fruit, it has, malic acid, citric acid, all these different sugars. And so we are scientifically able to recreate that combination, and that's how we create flavorings. And so we'll add that to the different beans. We have a whole range, a whole variety of different flavors that we offer. Seasonal, regular, everything like that. So
what you're saying is, if you want to have more heartburn, drink flavored coffee.
Flavored coffee will help you for sure. For a coffee purist, we might stay away from flavored coffee, but I sell a lot of flavored coffee, and so I'm not going to steer anybody away. If they enjoy flavored coffee, But if you are having heartburn from your coffee, it might be something to consider.
Right.
Unflavored coffee.
So most truckers don't drink flavored coffee. But anyway, I used to drink a little bit of flavored coffee, but I do really like that light roast blend is an awesome blend, and that's what that's kind of my go-to. But I've had very few people ask for flavored coffee. Every once in a while, but
Yeah.
when they realize, I think when people realize what all's behind it, they probably just drink regular coffee.
Yeah.
So
it is what it is. It's an interesting product, and it's been around.
And the other thing, so when you have a coffee grinder, it's a little bit harder to grind the coffee.
Yeah, your machine will gunk up faster than it will if you're just grinding regular coffee, unflavored coffee beans.
Right.
We keep ours separate, so we have a roaster, or we have a grinder for flavored coffee and a grinder for regular coffee. We don't ever mix the two. So
well, there you have it, guys.
Keep it pure.
Yeah, there you go. All right, guys. Well, there you have it. Thank you guys for watching. Thank you, Jared, for the little tour. I love how we can support a small business here in our community. And if you guys can support them, that would be awesome. HammerdownCoffee.com. You can check it out, all the different flavors, different blends, and we'll ship it right to your door. All right, guys. And I got a bunch of coffee in my truck. So I'm planning on stocking a bunch of this coffee here. At our store, probably up in the front. I'm going to put a stand up there, a rack, and have coffee up there. I'm also, that's if you're stopping by, you want to grab some. So the other way, if you're not close by, you can also just go to hammerdowncoffee.com or Flint Creek Merch, and you can order there. All right, guys, thank you for watching. We'll see you in the next video. Peace out.